Metal Gear Solid is one of the most iconic gaming series of all time, and it returns after a decade away with a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Developers wanted to remake this title in particular because they say it's the easiest entry point for new fans in the series, while still delivering a dose of nostalgia for returning fans. And so we have Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, a remake of the 2004 original that does not really stand up in 2025 because it feels just too faithful to the original and all of its controversial features return. Developers seemingly anticipated this being an issue, as one of its very opening screens says this game contains expressions and themes from the original version which may be considered outdated and have been included without alteration to preserve the historical context in which the original game was made and the creator's original vision. Player discretion is advised. And yes, keeping in the option to use black face paint on a white character, sexualized content and violence against women do make it feel very outdated, to say the least. The game opens by saying it's based on Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, but the story itself is pretty much identical. Players take on the role of the legendary Snake who initially infiltrates the Soviet Union in the middle of the Cold War to escort a defecting scientist called Sokolov back into American custody. But the mission fails when Snake's former mentor called the Boss, a soldier who is known as the mother of the Special Forces, herself defects to the Soviet Union, with Sokolov being captured by Colonel Volgin of the GRU. A week later, Snake returns to Soviet territory in an attempt to rescue Sokolov, eliminate the Boss and stop the Soviet Union from launching a nuclear attack on the US. The way the overarching story plays out is great, and it kept me intrigued throughout with all the twists and turns that happen along the way, although there are some specific scenes that left me in disbelief that I'll come on to. As well as the main campaign, there's Snake v Monkey on PS5 and PC, and Snake v Bomberman on Xbox Series X and S. Multiplayer mode Fox Hunt has been delayed to post-launch, and I did not get the chance to play this here. In terms of the visuals, the game looks great graphically in terms of character models and landscapes, and it runs smoothly. Not once playing through did I encounter any tearing, framerate dips or oddities. There are two different camera modes the game can be played through, which are Legacy Style, the game's original fixed top-down camera, and New Style, a modern over-the-shoulder third-person perspective which I used throughout. The original voice acting from the 2004 game has been used, and while its authenticity can't be denied, Snake does sound a bit odd to begin with in a modern-day context until you get used to it. Now for the controversial stuff. Eva is a female character introduced early on in Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. And not only does she seem to undress to show Snake her bra and underwear whenever she can, but the player can switch certain cutscenes to first-person perspective to basically stare at her deep cleavage. First and third person perspectives can be changed at any time during gameplay, and there are instances where this can be done in cutscenes, which is great in some aspects, so you can see what enemy targets Snake is seeing through binoculars, for example. But the option to stare at Eva's barely dressed body in certain scenarios is just weird. There's also a scene where a villain called Ocelot grabs Eva and he gropes her breast to see if she's a woman. Volgin, the main antagonist, is a sadist, and there is a scene where he tortures a female character called Tatiana in front of Sokolov. There's also another scene where Volgin grabs Snake's crotch. And according to the game's official rating, there's a peep demo theatre allowing players to view cutscenes of a female character's body from a first-person perspective. This is an unlockable extra found in the Subsistence and HD collection versions of Metal Gear Solid 3, where Snake can move and zoom the camera in cutscenes where Eva is in her underwear, and this seems to have made its way into Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater 2. We'll cover the option to wear black face paint shortly. This all just feels so outdated, unnecessary and a bit tasteless in all honesty. It shocked me this has all been included in a game releasing in 2025. Onto gameplay, Metal Gear Solid Delta recreates it from Metal Gear Solid 3 in a way that's a little bit more modern, but returning players will recognise. You have to survive in a Russian jungle using the limited tools and equipment you have, your survival instincts and mastering the art of tactical espionage action. Not only does Snake have to survive, he also needs to fight through different groups of enemies using weapons and equipment he finds throughout the game, and there are a number of ways this can be done. The quiet approach can be taken, which is usually the best way. You can go in guns blazing if you want to, or you stealth to a certain point before raising hell, and there are so many different unique ways this can be done. Some equipment, such as sonar and detectors, use battery charge, which slowly regenerates when not in use, and finding thermal goggles early on is a real game changer. However, Snake has a backpack with limited space, meaning players will need to prioritise what equipment and weapons they need at all times. A heavier backpack also drains stamina more quickly too. When Snake gets hurt, you need to ensure you've got all the medical equipment required to heal properly, as you'll be curing his injuries and ailments, both physical and those caused by poison, including digging bullets out, sterilising wounds, bandaging them, all that kind of thing. Snake needs to regularly eat food or else his stamina will drop, which affects his ability to aim as precisely, move as quickly, or swim underwater for as long. This can be done by killing and eating animals found in the jungle, including snakes, of course, or by finding different meals by exploring. If Snake is hungry, his tummy can rumble, and I got caught out by this on a number of occasions when it alerted an enemy when I was trying to stealthily get past them. There's a radio where Snake can contact comrades and chat about things such as tactical medical advice, weapons and technology information, and save the game. Some of the dialogue that plays through the radio can be very long and waffling. I found myself skipping through some of it, and I don't usually do that. I like to listen to everything, but there were some parts I just couldn't bring myself to sit through. There's the option to switch between first and third person perspectives at any time to give players an edge in battles. I generally stuck with third person as first person felt a little too imprecise and loose when in combat. That feeling carries over to movement, which feels quite floaty, and there's no option to sprint either. Enemy animations and movement can feel a bit clunky too. Again, sticking to its roots, the environment is not open. There's basically a series of rooms with short loading times between each one, telling you what area you're in. This is something, again, that feels a bit old in 2025. In some sections, there are no map markers or anything telling you how to complete the next objective. Sometimes you just have to work it out for yourself and die trying a few times in the process. However, what Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater should be commended for are its boss battles. There are quite a few dotted throughout the game, and each one offers a unique challenge that requires a different skill to be mastered before they can be taken down. These sections, especially against the End, who I did not kill early, were the true highlights. One key element of gameplay is using camouflage to blend in with the environment, and this can be done using different outfits and face paints, which can be changed in the pause menu. Each outfit has a score value which tells you if the outfit is more or less likely to get you noticed. But the option to use black face paint on a white character returns. The game has it from the very beginning and tries to justify it as good at night or in the dark. Just take it out of the game, it's not needed. Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater is a faithful remake of 2004's Metal Gear Solid 3, but it's too faithful as it includes all of the content and themes from the original as well as an element of how the gameplay feels from then as well. By taking this approach, developers have done what they set out to do in that regard and have acknowledged that some may feel the game is outdated. But acknowledging this, explaining it, and including all the content anyway just doesn't land in 2025. Other remasters and remakes out there, such as Dead Rising Deluxe Remastered, removed this controversial content. Speaking of other remakes, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater is nowhere near the same league as the likes of Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth, the Resident Evil remakes, or Silent Hill 2. Not only could any potential new fans of Metal Gear Solid be pushed away, perhaps even returning fans keen for a dose of nostalgia will play through it, look at certain bits and think, that's odd. Metal Gear Solid 3 was groundbreaking 21 years ago, and those that want to experience the game as it was then, they won't be disappointed here. But for me, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater feels outdated as a new 2025 release, and the inclusion of such controversial elements detracted from my overall experience. And it feels a bit more like a shiny remaster than a remake, truth be told. It's a 5.5 out of 10. For more from Indie 100, be sure to keep it locked on indie100.com and across our social media channels.